Here's how I manifested my first six figures when I got into real estate. And this is going to be practical vlog just geared around me being more vulnerable and sharing with you guys the things that have actually helped me in my manifestation journey. I know that on this channel, if you are a repeating viewer, I'm typically giving you all the tips geared around what has helped me in my journey, but I want to start incorporating more of the behind the scenes so that you can also see that I personally have struggles just like every single one of us, that I have my own insecurities that I deal with, and also how I've been able to navigate through these and actually make them part of my biggest strengths. And this is how I manifested my first six figures. And my goal with this video is that those of you that are watching it, that you can see that you're also able to create anything you want. Maybe you've been thinking about getting into real estate, so I'm going to be giving you a blueprint geared around the things that have helped me, telling you a little bit more about my story. And maybe you're thinking about starting another business, right? Whatever that might be, I want to share with you the things that have actually helped me be a successful real estate agent that now has been able to scale the business past its first 7 figures. And my goal is to continue to grow it as I continue to embody higher versions of myself. So with that being said, let's get into the video. Now, here's the thing. I didn't feel ready when I got into real estate. I remember I had to take the test twice because I didn't pass it the first time. I passed the state, but not the national. And this is part of where I was already starting to doubt myself. I was like, okay, like if I already failed the test, like what should I really be doing here? I came from the call center world. So for me, I had been always used to being a 9-to-5 person. I would clock in, clock out. And when I would clock out, it was my time. I wouldn't do anything geared around self-development. I remember I would basically clock off, and because I was so exhausted, I would just go to bed, right? I would either go to bed or maybe buy some fast food, because that is how my mechanism was wired to find some gratification out of life. That was one of the biggest things that I would do. And I share this with you because I believe that it's a very, very interesting part of my journey. When I first decided, you know what? I'm gonna get into real estate. And when I decided to get into real estate, it was actually through a person that I was married to at one point in my life. That's a whole other conversation. That was an abusive relationship that taught me a lot, but I believe now that I don't play the victim. I believe that I had to be in that journey in order for me to be the person that I am now. But when I was in that situation, I essentially learned from this person like, hey, you should probably consider doing real estate. Like, I think that would be really good for you. And I always wanted to do something with real estate because I always admired the architecture of certain buildings, but I never even knew that that was like a thing that I could do. You know, like I thought you had to go and get like a degree or some shit like that. So when I started doing more research and I finally found the Academy of Real Estate that I went to, I didn't even know at that time that you could do it online. Okay, for those of you that are interested in becoming an agent, you can do it online. And this is one of the things that I teach now the people that join our team. I'm like, look, if they're already licensed, they don't have to worry about this, but if they're interested in getting licensed because they want to be part of the team, I always tell them, do it online. It's a lot easier and it saves you so much time. But I didn't know that. I went in person and I was there for about 6 hours a day until I finished. I think it was about 2 months or 3 months that I was going consistently to the School of the Real Estate Academy. And when I was finally done with my CEs, which are the classes that you need to take in order for you to be eligible to actually get your state and national exam conducted, I remember that I studied so much, like thinking that this was going to be the thing that was going to help me really pass my test. A lot of the questions that we would get asked were not things that were actually being asked in the reviews that certain providers have. So be very mindful of who it is that you're learning from, because the reason why I feel like I did really good, even though I failed one time and I passed on my second time, was because the notes that the Academy of Real Estate was giving us were really, really practical, and they were really geared around what we were going to have on the test. So fast forward, I pass and I get my state exam passed. I get my national exam passed, and I thought, this is it. Like, this is where I become a millionaire. This is where I become the trailblazer, and this is where I, just surpass my wildest expectations. Well, that was an interesting journey because that wasn't the case. That wasn't really what happened. I got into real estate, and I remember my first 2 years were the hardest. Real realistically, my first year was even harder than my second year. My second year is when I started getting some momentum, but my first year was absolutely shit. And I say this to you because it's important for you to understand who you decide to work with matters, and not from the perspective of what you might think, which is what I used to think. I thought if I start working with Century 21, they're like the bad boy in the blog. I'm going to get a ton of clients because they're all going to want to work with me because I'm part of Century 21. That was not the case. People care about you as a person and your brand. When people see that you have a brand, this is why I've been able to become as successful as I have in my real estate, because I get constant people that are reaching out to me from my YouTube channel, from repeat business, and are literally telling me, I saw your video, I enjoy the way that you explain something, I want to work with you. So I didn't know that at that time, and I'll get around to that in one of my tips that I'm going to be sharing with you today. But at that point, I didn't realize that I was the brand, that I needed to be the person that was actually going to be sharing this knowledge from my unique perspective, from my unique set of skills, in order for them to really relate to me and want to work with me through all these other options that they have, right? So at that time, I didn't know that. I decided to go with Century 21. That was the first brokerage that I worked with. Not only were they taking a big piece of my pie, which was my money that I wasn't really making, so I didn't really mind at that time, but they were also very outdated. And this was just the brokerage that I was working with. I love the people that are there, but the reality is that there's a lot of new brokerages that are coming about that have tools that are geared around AI, that are geared around making streamlined and efficient processes for you as an agent, if you're, again, deciding to become an agent. But it makes it a lot easier. And when you go to some of these brick and mortar, is what they call them, like an office type facilities, what happens is that a lot of them might have outdated systems. And I'm not saying that's the case for all of them, okay? Before you think and come for me, and those people that are working at a brick and mortar, you're like, that's a lie. Again, not all of them, but most of them are pretty outdated. And the one I went to was pretty outdated. I remember that I never once was told like, hey, are you making videos? I was never once told like, hey, are you running ads? Are you, making anything other than the attempt of learning more about the contracts, which at that time we were always learning about contracts, but yet I didn't have any contracts. So I was like, oh, I don't know anything. Like, I don't know how to get my clients going, and you're just teaching me about contracts, which the best way to learn is by actually having a client, right? So at that time, I felt really frustrated. I felt like I was kind of chasing my tail. And this is why I believe manifesting is so important, because I didn't feel like I was ready, but I just still decided to take unconditional faith in myself and show up for myself. And this is where I've noticed that the people that fail and the people that succeed in life, this is the only difference. The people that fail, they self-sabotage themselves before even starting. The people that succeed are people that are delusional about what they really know, and they just kind of figure it out. And even if they fail, they keep trying and they keep trying. And that was honestly the recipe for my success when I first started. Obviously, including all the other tips that I'm going to share with you. But that was the biggest part, because if I wouldn't have decided to just show up and to just go all in, I think that if I would have done a lot of research, which is typically what happens, you start doing all this research and you're like thinking that that's going to be the thing that's going to help you really scale your business. Well, what really ended up happening is that as I was not doing any research and I just decided to go full force, I didn't really know how much controversy there was geared around how many realtors don't succeed in real estate. Like, I didn't even know that realtors didn't succeed in real estate. I thought all of them were making money. I thought all of them were, eating. And as I, had that delusional faith in the fact that I was going to make a lot of money, that was how my manifestation journey really began, because I was believing in something that wasn't necessarily true. But because of the fact that I was focusing on all the things that I was going to acquire in terms of the knowledge and the people that I was meeting and putting myself in these situations, it allowed me to start creating a new frequency around me. I didn't really use these terms back then, okay? I dove very deeply, I think that's a word, dove, right, into my manifestation journey now, because I really wanted to understand it from an intellectual perspective. But back then, I just knew that I wanted more out of life. Like, back then, I just knew that I was tired of my life. I've mentioned this before in other videos, but I was raised with my grandparents in a storage room, so we didn't really have a lot of money. And I remember that at those times when I would see other people have money, I always admired them, and I always saw money as this like taboo thing that nobody in my family really talked about, because we all really knew that we didn't have it. it. And I thought that, again, not knowing about all the things that most people consume themselves with, that was my secret sauce. That was my superpower, because I didn't know what I didn't know. So as I continued to show up for myself, as I continued to really ask God, please send me more blessings, help me in this journey. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to show up for myself. This is how the stepping stones really started to unfold. And I remember that at that time, I manifested the first person that I started working with, and they were military background. My family is military background as well. I personally have never served, but my family, they have. And I always had a sweet spot for people that have served, because I know how crazy that lifestyle is and how overwhelming it can be. And I share this with you because when I partnered up with this person, that was a person that gave me my first break. That was a person that they had so much business that was coming in that they needed a showing partner. They needed somebody to work with them. And this is why, if you take anything away from this video, let it be this: who you surround with is so important. Who you surround yourself with matters. And at that time, because of the fact that I was open to receiving, and because of the fact that I was open to saying, I don't know everything and I'm just trying to figure it out, this person decided to partner up with me. And that was really where I started growing my business. I decided to leave the toxic relationship. Ironically, this is also tying into manifesting, because when you hold on to people that don't serve you, it is holding your manifestations from actually happening. So you have all this resistance around you, and it's simply creating more lack because you're not in the right mindset, because you're not in the right vibration, because you're not doing the right things for you and what really makes you happy. You're essentially giving your energy away. When I decided to leave that relationship, that is where I quantum leaped. Like, my whole life changed. I felt like it was overnight, but I know it wasn't overnight. I was showing up for myself every day. This person, actually, I remember, and I share this with you because you're gonna have people like this in your journey. I remember he would tell me, like, you should just quit real estate. Like, you're maybe not cut out for it. Like, that's not for you. You should just leave. And I remember I would get so triggered by that, because I was like, no, like, I'm going to continue to show up for myself. Like, I'm going to make this happen. And that's like the part where I think a lot of people don't understand that grit is a very, very important part of your journey. And if you don't have grit to continue to show up for yourself, you're not going to succeed. Like, that's a reality. As much as I would love for everybody to succeed, the truth is there's some people that are just not willing to show up. Like, I've had so many assistants, and some of them have left just because, you know, own personal life situations, they're not able to work anymore, but others have not been cut out for it. Like, I remember this one assistant that I absolutely loved, and she gave up on herself. She gave up on herself because she believed that she was messing up. Although a lot of the feedback that I was giving her was geared around making her better, she didn't see that. And again, she gave up on herself and she decided to go back to her 9-to-5. Why is that important? Because if you're in this journey of being an entrepreneur, of being a real estate advisor, you need to have so much grit. You need to be willing to show up for yourself when everybody's telling you that you should fucking quit. And even when you are telling yourself that you should quit, because that is how, even now, starting my coaching business, I started my coaching business geared around the fact that I've had such a successful real estate business that I wanted to help more women really grow their business, and really not just grow their business, but be in alignment with the best version of themselves. Because I know far too well what it's like to just hustle, and then you're overwhelmed, you're overworked, you snap at your kids because you're so frustrated all the time. And this was really part of what inspired me to start my coaching business. But before that, when I was just focusing on my real estate, this is where I share with you that if you can understand the grit aspect of it is so important for your journey, this is where you start really recognizing that a lot of the things that you're looking to manifest come from. Now, as my journey continued, I continued to surround myself around the right people. I didn't really want to go to a lot of these networking events. I didn't really want to join a lot of these committees. There was a lot of things that I didn't want to do because I was just uncomfortable, and I had to continue to do these things. And this is why I teach my kids, and I hope that this helps you. You need to get so comfortable doing the uncomfortable. And the more uncomfortable things that you do, the more comfortable you're going to get doing those things. So for example, I know that a lot of you have this fear of being vulnerable, right? And you're like, no, if I'm vulnerable, like, they're gonna come for me and they're gonna, you know, take advantage of me and la 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 la. Well, I struggled with that a lot because I had the mindset of survival of the fittest. It's either you or me, and it's not going to be me. That was a very scarcity mentality because, again, where I grew up from, that was a mentality that I had around me at all times, right? I had people getting in fights, drugs, substance abuse, you name it. So that was very much embedded in my psyche. And I'm pretty sure that if there's anything in you that's telling you bullshit, I can't do it, it's part of that programming. It's part of that story that you've been telling yourself. I told myself that story for many years. I had to decide that I was done with all the bullshit that I was dealing with, and I really wanted something different out of life. And that is where my all-time favorite verse Bible is, ask and you shall receive, right? And I really do believe that that is something that if you can understand that God wanted you to have everything that you desire, but that you need to be willing to embody his teachings. And by understanding that we are all connected, that's really where I've been able to see a lot of my success. But anyways, I'll get into that in just a second. So as I continued and I was able to continue to show up for myself, doing these uncomfortable things, being vulnerable with people and telling them like what I didn't know. I remember I had this one lady when I first was working at Center 21. I was still there, and I remember that I told her that I wanted to shadow her and I wanted to really learn from her. I personally remember that was around the time when I had stopped smoking, and I just remember that at that time she like lit up a cigarette in my car, and I was like, oh, I just suck it up because I was trying to be around the people that I knew I could learn from. And as that continued to unfold, this is where I decided to start investing in myself. And this is the second part of you actually like being a successful real estate advisor. You need to be so comfortable with who you're surrounding yourself with, putting yourself in these uncomfortable situations, and the tools that you're using in order for you to scale your business. So at that point, I decided, you know what, I'm really not getting the training that I need at this brokerage. Like, they're taking a lot of my money and I'm not really feeling like I'm growing. It's time for me to leave. So I decided to leave at that time, and I decided to go for a brokerage that was going to give me 100% of my commission. Like, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I need. Well, that was a mistake because those types of brokerages don't really give you as much support because you're paying them a monthly fee, and for them it's just a business, so they don't care. Hang your license with us, whether you sell or not, I could care less about. So the training and the quality there wasn't nowhere near where it was with Center 21, because now at this point I was essentially with the company that, yes, although they were not taking a big part of my pie, I wasn't getting that much training anymore. So then here comes the leap, and I decided to go into another brokerage, which at that time was EXP. So while it still exists, I decided to go with EXP, and I went with EXP, and I'm going to tell you why I went with them. Because of one person that I was following that I felt really resonated with my type of style and my way of communicating. And when I decided to go there, I remember that at that time, it was about going on 4 years ago, there was a new brokerage that was coming around, and that was Real Broker. And Real was trying to do everything the way that EXP was doing. And this is not a video to make you like leave your brokerage or any of that stuff, okay? Like, I'm just giving you my story and what helped me and why I feel like I needed to do this. But for those of you that are not licensed yet, like, definitely pay attention to this, because when I was with EXP and Real surfaced, this was like the hot new thing that was an up and coming starter company. Like, at this point, it had very, very little agents, but it was growing. And the unique mechanism, if you don't know what a unique mechanism is, it's like what makes that place or that thing unique. So the unique mechanism for them was that they were really centering the agent as the value of the company versus the company being the value for the agent. And a lot of their trainings, a lot of the big dogs that they started attracting because of the CEO. If you don't know who Sharon Shavista is, look him up, but he's actually helped scale billion-dollar companies. And when they brought Sharon onto the company, it was for the same purpose. Like, they were trying to really grow something in that same mindset. And I decided at that time, because of the mentor that I had, he was going to go with Real, and he told me like, look, you can stay with EXP. I'm just telling you what I'm going to do. It's a tough decision because I'm going to essentially like forfeit a lot of my stock that I've built in, EXP. But to be quite honest with you, I see the opportunity for this company. And this is why I tell you that one of the most important things that you can really develop for yourself is understanding what are your non-negotiables and what are your negotiables, and what you want to have around you. And what I mean by that is, I personally knew that I wanted to have close proximity to very successful people. And I knew that by staying at EXP, I didn't have any other close proximity other than the people that I had originally decided to join for. So when this person is going to jump ship, like, naturally in my mind, I'm like, I have no question about it. Like, I'm going with you. I'm here. I'm a rider. I'm gonna do this. Well, it turns out it ends up being one of my best decisions, because as I was leaving EXP, I had already scaled past my first 6 figures, and the journey into scaling my business the way that I did, I really wasn't expecting, but it was all because of the culture. It was all because of the people that we had around us, all because of the things that we were learning. And I do believe that when you have close proximity to success, to people that are doing really, really well in life, that rubs off on you. And it's kind of like a firecracker, right? You're thinking of how you can improve. Like when I would see other amazing creators doing amazing videos, I was like, how can I do that for myself? How can I be a better person? And how can I show up in a better light? This is why I believe that when you're trying to really be successful in real estate, you need to learn how to have the right people around you, because that is going to really dictate your success. And as you continue to grow, you now have the opportunity to be that person that's successful that people are looking out for. But you have people that were building you up. You have people that didn't really want you to stay at the bottom of the barrel. Like I had this one team when I was interviewing teams. I remember I went up to them, and it was a guy, and he was managing the whole team. And basically anybody that wanted to join his team, what would happen is that you were all going to go under him, meaning that all the transactions were going to be closed under his name. So you were never really building a name for yourself. Like everything, even if you brought that transaction, was going to close under him. And I was like, that just doesn't make sense. Like, why in the world would I want to build up your brand, but I'm not building up my brand? Like the whole point is for me to get better so that I can service my clients. And if you understand this part, this is really what can help you make the most amount of money and the most amount of good karma with your clients. It's genuinely care about people, like genuinely care about them. I remember that I would see how other agents were taking care of certain people, and I was like, yeah, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to do that. And I remember that one of the most important parts for me is that when I bought my first house, I was 18 years old. I told you, I've been working since a very, very, very young age. And I remember that at this time I had a realtor. I didn't know any better. I didn't know anything geared around like how things worked in real estate or any of that for that matter. So when I hired her, I didn't even know that I had the ability to hire somebody. I just thought that that's the only realtor that I could like really get. This was before, again, I started getting my license and understanding more about real estate. And at this time, when I hired her, she treated us like shit. Like she really didn't answer our questions. She was annoyed by us at all times. I don't know if it was because we're also buying like a very starter home, so it wasn't like a lot of money for her. I don't know, but she never really gave us the respect that I felt we deserved. And that really set a blueprint in my mind of what I didn't want, right? Just like I set a blueprint for a lot of people, and I saw a lot of things of what I didn't want to do, not geared around the things that I should do, but more so the things that I didn't want to do. And that's what allowed me to say, I don't want that kind of life. Well, the same thing happened with the realtor. I saw her and I was like, yeah, I never want to be like that. And that mindset really has helped me, because I will treat the $100,000 client in terms of buying a house the same way as a $2.5 million client. And when you can understand that, that really helps you with your clients, because they can sense that. They can see that you see them as a person and not just a paycheck. Another thing here is that you really want to know what you are investing in. So as I was mentioning, when I got into Real, I was investing in the company because I knew that it was going to continue to grow just based off what had sold me. I mean, obviously what sold me was the fact that my team leader was switching to them. But furthermore, why was he switching, right? Like he was in a Washington market where it's very competitive and he was doing all the things. So I was like, okay, if he's doing this, like what can I learn from this person? So when you're going to decide on what company you're going to work with, you want to be very, very clear and very specific of what it is that this company is going to offer you. Are they going to have trainings? Are they going to have transaction coordination services for you? Do they have any graphic designs for you? Do they have anything that's really going to make your life easier? And one of the things that I will share with you is that if you can understand that your brand is so important, that is going to help you really start scaling. And what I mean by brand is, what kind of videos are you posting? Are you posting videos that are geared around you getting drunk on the weekends? Because your clients are going to see that. Like I've seen so many girls that post videos that are very, very revealing, and I'm just like, no, we're not doing that. And this is not to judge. It's just to show you that at the end of the day, what you're putting out there does matter and your reputation is everything. Like I've had certain people want to join my team, but I see what they post and I'm like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. So you as an agent need to start seeing that your brand is everything and the way that you communicate is everything. If you really want to scale, that is what's going to set you apart from other agents that are not thinking about that. Another thing that I can share with you that really helped me scale past my first 6 figures was after I decided on the team, the culture, the people that I wanted to surround myself with, right? After deciding what was the thing that I was investing in, which was myself, like my training, my tools, all the things, now really understanding the brand component and making it an active effort. You need to treat your real estate business as an actual business. Like leaving your 9 to 5, what that does is that before you were always used to somebody telling you what to do. And when you go into your own business world, now what is happening is that you no longer have that. You no longer have somebody telling you what to do. You are that person that is telling you what to do. So you need to get very clear on what type of schedule you're going to have. What are your activities? What are your income producing activities? What are the activities that you can maybe delegate to somebody else? At the beginning, I had to do everything. I had to be my email marketing. I had to be my ad campaign manager. I had to be my showing partner, my listing partner, my transaction coordinator, my assistant. I had to do everything. Now I have systems. So now I actually, whenever I have a new team member that joins, I always try to show them the things that they would want to do and incorporate, because I tell them this: I don't want you to just be part of my team. I want you to eventually grow your own team. Like that is my goal. I want you to continue to scale. I want you to continue to surpass, and I want you to surpass me. Like that is what a real leader does. They want you to be better than them, not a titan. You don't want those types of leaders. And with that, I essentially just continue to show up. I continue to show up. And this is why I believe that manifestation really is all tied in to how we live our life. I do this every single day. I show up for myself. I make it a point in my morning. I set the right framework. So I always wake up with gratitude. I always say, thank you, God, for allowing me to have a new day. Thank you for allowing me to be alive. That's setting up my mindset for success. Then from there, it's funny because as I continue to grow in real estate, I always make this joke about I manifest all my clients, and I really do. Like whenever I'm in this mindset of lack, I repel my clients. And this is why I teach my girls to manifest, because whenever I'm on this mindset of abundance and appreciating everything that I have, I manifest more clients. Like I'm literally today, right now, actually, I'm gonna finish right now my videos. And I have a client of $1.5 to $2 million here that is relocating to the area. And this is just the kind of thing that now I see in my day-to-day activities. And I want you to experience that, whether that's you becoming a realtor, whether that's you growing your business, but just keep this in mind. Keep this in mind, because this is really what's going to help you surpass wherever it is that you are in your journey. And the last thing you want is to be a part-time agent. Like I know some people want to do that, and hey, like to each their own. But for me, I never wanted to be a part-time agent and have another job. Like I wanted this to be my only thing. And now that I've started my coaching business, I did that out of love. Like I genuinely love talking to people and seeing their potential and telling them like, you absolutely fucking can. Like no, anybody that's telling you you can't is lying to you, and you can, and let's figure out how to do it. That brings me a lot of joy. I noticed it even today. I was at the gym and I was talking to this girl, and as I was talking to her, she was like, you know, telling me a little bit about what I'm reading and all this stuff. And then I started telling her about like what I'm into, and she was like, oh my gosh, like I love this. Like I've been wanting to manifest like more friends that are like also like into self-development. And I was like giving her a bunch of like tips and stuff, and that's just the kind of thing that brings me joy now. So maybe you're in a situation where you are really tired of where you are and you just want something better out of life. Get very clear on what are your non-negotiables. Get very clear on what are the new habits that you need to actually create in order for you to embody that new person, and get very clear on who you have around you. Because I'm telling you, babe, like these people that you have around you that maybe you care for, that maybe you love, could be the same reason why you're not growing. And I remember having a few of those in my life, and I had to get very strict on what my non-negotiables were. I had to get very strict on who I was no longer willing to accept in my life. And that has allowed me to really grow into a different person, because it's like dating, right? It's like if you go to a date with me and let's say you say something that's out of line, and or maybe you don't have the same aspirations as I do, I'm not going to judge you because that's not my place, but I'm just going to say, you know what, this is not in alignment with me. Like we can be friends. So getting clear on what those negotiables look like, what are those habits that you need, what is that society that you're harnessing look like, right? What's your culture in your environment, and what you're doing behind closed doors. You know, what you're doing behind closed doors matters, because at the end of the day, you need to be willing to hold this reputation of yourself in such a high standard, where now you know that the people that find you are going to really get to know you at a different level, because you're kind of like an open book. Like, what you see is what you get. Like, the things that I talk about is the stuff that I talk about at my house. I don't change it up. I'm not like, oh, I'm going to talk about empowerment and then I'm over here going and like beating myself to the ground or telling my kids that they're not worthy. Like, no, I embody these things and I teach these things because I believe that these are the things that have changed my life and have completely given me a different perspective in life. And you can do it too. You can do it too. So if this has been a helpful video, I would love to hear from you down below. If you want to give me a comment, I'm going to be doing more series geared around business, because I've just been talking about manifesting in my channel, and I want to give you like practical tools that I use to help me grow my business, like what I do with my ads, what I do with my funnels, like all these things that are really, really helpful if you are a business owner. So with that, I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for spending some time with me, and I will talk to you on the next video.